Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr and welcome to another STAMPtember video for Simon Says Stamp STAMPtember. Today we are celebrating my favorite things with this forest scene card using the exclusive limited edition stamp set called Time to Unwind. Not only am I going to be using the stamp set, but I'm pairing it with some kind of fun products that I pulled from my stash. So it's mixing and matching at its best. I love mixing and matching, and I love finding ways to use the products I have together. We're going to start with a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel of smooth white cardstock, and we're going to use the new Pawsitively saturated inks from Simon Says Stamp in SEAFOAM and Ocean to create our blue sky background. This is important to do this first because we are going to do some multi-step stamp layering over the background. Wow, I could hardly get that out. So I'm going to work my inks together until I get the perfect blend. I'm going to just gradually lighten as I get towards the bottom of the panel because that's where the trees are going to go, and so I don't want it quite as dark there, so it makes it easier to stamp over this. Next, I am going to go ahead and grab the kitchen sink stamps multi-step snowy pine trees. I know I've mentioned kitchen sink stamps a lot. I really love them. If you love multi-step stamping, they have some of the best that I've ever seen. And I have had this stamp set for maybe a year and have never used it. Now I know it's called snowy pine trees, but because you're going to see a lot of the blue sky through these, I'm just kind of considering them pine trees. If you want, definitely leave the sky more white and it could look snowy. You could even add snow to the different elements for the scene. But for my card today, I just simply wanted a forest card. And so you can really kind of extend the life of a stamp set that maybe is meant more for winter themed cards and use it for something else. I really love to try to find ways to make the most of the products I have. So I am playing around with placement now of my trees. I want to use these tall trees from the My Favorite Things Time to Unwind set to hang the moose hanging in his hammock, which I think is hilarious. And then I want to figure out a way to position my snowy pine trees, or let's just call them pine trees, in the background to give this illusion of him hanging out in this forest. Now the cover plate here that you see, this is the Lawn Fawn Forest backdrop. It is what I initially envisioned to use with this set when I got it, but I really felt like I wanted something in the background to give that illusion of depth and dimension. I'm using my die as a guide right now to figure out where to place my kitchen sink stamps, pine trees, and I'm going to start with the Trio of Trees stamp in I want to call it the medium size. So in this stamp set, there's 3 groups. There's the individual tree that I'm going to do on either side of this set. That's the big one. Then this is kind of the medium size in the middle that you see here. And then there's a smaller little group that looks almost like, I think it's 3 trees as well. So it's smaller. It kind of gives you something that's going to work for several different sizes of cards, or like you can see here, I used the large and medium together. For my first layer of my tree, I used PinkFresh Studio Olive ink. And multi-step stamping really works best if you allow that first layer of ink to dry. I am using dye inks because they do dry quickly, and I really just wanted dye ink for this particular project. So what I'm doing is I stamped the middle group of trees, and then I'm moving out to each side, and that's giving that middle tree section a chance to dry because dye ink dries quickly before I come back and stamp that second layer. The best thing about kitchen sink stamps, well, one of the best things, there's lots, is that there is a guide in every stamp set that shows you how to line them up. It gives you ideas of where to look on the stamp to line them up, and it's all full color. It's really, really handy. And then on the stamp set itself, it numbers which step is what. So in case it's kind of ever in question, the trees can be a little tricky just because they're very detailed. So that is handy. My next layer for my tree, I stamped with PinkFresh Studio Evergreen ink. Now I will tell you, I did not realize until I had already stamped everything. My last layer for my trees, I used a color that I cannot find on the Simon Says Stamp website anymore. It's Simon Says Stamp Midnight Green. Don't fret, just take a very deep dark green color if you have it, but really you could use maybe even a deep teal, a dark kind of navy-ish blue, even brown if you wanted to here instead of a green. So definitely play around with your ink colors. I retired that ink after I realized that it's no longer available. So I do apologize for that, but I definitely wanted to let you guys know because I don't have a link for that in the video. But play around with different combinations of inks that you have and see what you can get. I know that the multi-step stamping is so great for those who don't love to color because it gives you those beautiful dimensional results without actually having to color anything. And sometimes I just don't want to color all of the things. I know I'm going to color a little bit on this card too, but really this is an amazing stamp set, as all of the kitchen sink stamps are. So I'm simply lining up my trees. We're going to hit that last layer now and look at the depth and dimension you get. This is beautiful, just like this, honestly. I thought this was so pretty. You could add some maybe foiling, a foiled sentiment, maybe a little bit of color to the trees, even take some Nouveau crystal drops and add little red berries or ornament balls to the trees. And this would be a gorgeous card just like this. So definitely a versatile stamp set. Now that we have all of our layers, I am ready to start stamping and coloring the rest of the components for my card. We're going to start with the trees, the moose in the hammock, and the bird from the My Favorite Things STAMPtember Time to Unwind stamp set. I'm also going to die cut the tree layering pieces and the mushrooms from the Lawn Fawn Forest backdrop. And we're going to stamp our images, die cut the other layering pieces, and color everything in with Copic markers. Then I'm going to fussy cut these. I did not have the coordinating dies. I will tell you just straight up, you guys, if I had the coordinating dies, I would have used them because I don't like fussy cutting. But this was not that bad, but still, I always want to die cut if I can. Maybe I need to get a scan and cut. I'd love to know if you guys have one because I thought that before STAMPtember started that I might need one. And I didn't pull the trigger because I was like, nah, I'll be fine. But every once in a while, I think to myself it would be handy. I'd love to know if you guys have it, what your experience is with it, if you recommend it, things like that. So I am coloring in my trees. I have listed the colors I'm using across the top of the screen as well as on my blog. So definitely check that out. Quick coloring. Now I will tell you, I really thought when I was going to fussy cut these, I was going to try to be like my friend Callie, who does an amazing job fussy cutting and leaving that white border around her images so it kind of resembles the die cut image. Yeah, I'm terrible at it. I started it and I was like, it looks like a kindergartner did it, to be honest. I like to be honest with you guys about my struggles, and fussy cutting is a struggle for me. I just don't enjoy it at all. And I always think if it's something you don't enjoy, don't do it. So what I ended up doing was just die cutting right next to the line, which I thought looked a little bit better, but you know, to each their own. I know a lot of you don't like the white outline around the images, so you would probably die cut it right next to the black line anyway. So that all worked out, and I think it probably works better with my card because I don't really have a lot of white outline. There's no white outline for the trees. There's no white outline for the die cut frame. So I think fussy cutting right next to the stamped line was probably the right way to go. I wanted lots of pops of red. So we have the beautiful aqua background. We have all of the green and then some neutrals in our frame and in our moose. So I wanted pops of color. That's going to be the hammock, the bird, and the mushrooms. And you can see that my coloring is just super fast. I did not spend tons of time here. I colored fast, 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 especially my die cuts. I taped them to the back of my panel so they'd stay put. I find they're easier to color if they are in the paper I die cut them from, instead of just trying to hold on to those little teeny tiny die cut pieces. So that is how I am achieving this. I know I've sped it up, but it was quick coloring anyway. Once we have that, I will fussy cut my images off camera so that you guys aren't sitting here for as long as it took me to fussy cut. This card did come together fast. I will tell you that. I actually set a timer. I hardly ever do that. I'm going to try to start remembering to set timers because you guys are always asking me how long cards take to make, and I never pay attention. So this took an hour and a half, just short of an hour and a half to create from start to finish. Yes, I already had my idea before I got started, so that doesn't count the time that I had mentally kind of thought, what products do I have in my stash? What do I want to use? Because I had planned most of that a day or two ahead of time. But the actual creation, assembly, all of that happened in about an hour and 25 minutes. So now I have all of my pieces. You can see I fussy cut the My Favorite Things Time to Unwind images. We're going to glue our little trees there to the front of our frame. We're going to tuck some mushrooms there as well. I love all the depth and dimension we get by using a frame, our multi-step pine trees in the back. Why is multi-step so hard for me to say? Goodness gracious. And then our moose in the hammock with the trees kind of in between the layers. So I am securing the moose to the hammock first. I wanted to make sure that I didn't try to glue everything down and not have it go together. And those little places there are teeny tiny. Then I'll put glue all over the back of this. We're going to figure out our placement and pop him right there in the background. Oh my goodness, how much fun is that? I actually really, really love how this turned out. I thought it was really cute and fun. So for everyone who is a huge My Favorite Things fan, if you're an MFT fan, if you like cute critters, this is an amazing stamp set. And definitely shop your stash, see what else you have that you can create cute scenes with. It does not all have to be My Favorite Things. I know I keep saying this over and over, but my goal with my STAMPtember videos this year is to hopefully encourage you to use things that you maybe already have or to think about your products differently, mix and match, and maybe, you know, learn something new along the way or try something new, whatever the case may be. So for me, it was being able to use that forest backdrop, which is one of my favorites, using a stamp set that I have never used before, that kitchen sink stamps pine trees. So it was really a nice challenge for myself. Now, the legs on the bird are way too small to cut, so I am going to figure out where I want him to go, and I'm actually just going to ink him up and stamp him kind of standing on top of the Time to Unwind sentiment. I used Time to Unwind, but there are a couple other cute sentiments in here as well. There's also a cute raccoon with like a little fire making s'mores. I just really wanted to use this image for my card. I couldn't figure out a way to incorporate the raccoon, so we kept it simple. I didn't even stamp the entire bird. I just did a little bit there. And then I actually hadn't colored him in yet, so I'm going to grab some reds. I thought I would do his face in yellow, but I didn't like that, so we'll color over that. I'm going to do him all in red. He's going to provide another nice little pop of red color to our card, and then we'll fussy cut him and add him to the design. And that really kind of brings some color and height to the design, which is very heavy along the bottom half of this landscape style card. Then we are going to adhere our frame directly over this. I want to give you guys another idea. You could always back this forest backdrop with acetate, pop it up with foam adhesive, and make this a shaker card. I think that would be super cute as well. You could maybe even put like some snow confetti type stuff in there and have it be a snowy background. add some glittery snow to the trees on the front of the frame, and it could be a winter card. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this mixing and matching scene card featuring the My Favorite Things STAMPtember Time to Unwind stamp set. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring STAMPtember products that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.